Good morning, Mercy and Hope. Welcome to Ask Mercy and Hope. So, today we're going to expound to you or explain to you the difference. What is the difference and similarities between pastors, elders, and overseers? So, that's a really good question. And so, today, I believe that a lot of Christians really don't understand the difference and similarities between pastor, elders, and overseer. And so we're going to look at the New Testament. We're going to go back to the Bible and see what the author of the Bible tells us. And you see, the word pastor is from the Greek word poimen, which means shepherd. So pastor means shepherd in Greek. And we see that word being used in Ephesians chapter 4 and elsewhere as the pastor teacher or shepherd teacher. And then we see in Titus chapter 1 verse 5 where Paul writes to Titus, he said, "This is why I left you in Crete, so that you might put what remained into order and appoint elders in every town as I directed you." And so the word elder there that is being used in Titus and throughout the New Testament is a word that can be translated to the Greek word presbyterus. Now, of course, you have heard the word Presbyterian or Presbyterian church. Okay, so presbyterus or presbyteroi in plural form means elders, and these are the people who serve the church by ruling and governing the church under Jesus Christ. And then we mentioned the other word. The third word is the overseer. And that word overseer also comes from the Greek word, well, it comes from the New Testament first, okay? In the book of Titus, chapter 1, verse 7, where Paul writes, "For an overseer, as God's steward, must be above reproach." Now, the word overseer that Paul used in Titus chapter 1, verse 7 is the word that can be translated to Greek word episcopal. So overseer in Greek word is episkopos. Okay, so have you heard about, I'm sure you have heard the word Episcopalian, okay, or Episcopalian church. This is the church where it is a church government where you have a one overseer or a bishop. Okay, so in the New Testament, we all have these three words. We have the pastor or shepherd, we have elder or presbyter, and then we have overseer or episcopos. Now, we believe that all these three terms are used more or less interchangeably, which means that they are all the same and they are all one. Now, in fact, in First Peter chapter 5, Peter writes, he said, "So I exhort the elders among you as a fellow elder and a witness of the suffering of Christ, as well as the partaker in the glory that is going to be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God that is among you, exercising oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly, as God would have you, not for shameful gain, but eagerly, not domineering over those in your charge, but being example to the flock." It says that in First Peter chapter 5, verse 1 to 3. And so, Peter here is telling the church, or is referring to himself as a fellow elder among the elders. Peter is not lifting himself up. He sees that there is no hierarchy. There is no somebody's domineering or higher than somebody else here. But rather, Apostle Peter, whom Christ mightily used by the power of the Spirit, he sees himself as an elder among elders. And then Peter also directs and charges all elders to pastor the flock of God. And whose flock? God's flock, the church. So after explaining to you what the New Testament or what the Bible is telling us about these three terms, we can certainly understand that among elders, we have certain elders that are given more to ruling. Some elders are given to preaching. In fact, even Paul in chapter 1, chapter 5 of First Timothy, we read the following: Let the elders who rule well be considered worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in preaching and teaching. It says that in First Timothy 5:17. So we understand that God calls and gives men or and women to preach. And that is the case. We have to understand that according to the qualification for the office of elder in First Timothy 3 and Titus 1, that all elders should be fitting to teach. If they're not able to teach, if the elders are not able to teach, and they're not able and willing to rebuke those who contradict the teaching doctrine of the Bible, then they are not qualified to be elders. So, what we need to understand now is that the pastors, the overseers, and the elders, they have equal voices, which means that they are all serving the church of God. They are all serving these three positions in the church is all the same, are the same, and they are all serving the flock of God with equal authority. But it is not an authority that is coming from them, or it is not the authority that's coming from their office, but it is the authority that is coming from the Word of God. That's why our authority as your pastor, or the authority of the elders in the church, is a ministerial or declarative authority. Our authority as your pastor, as your shepherd, as your elders, and as your overseer is coming from the Word of God, and it is an infallible authority for the people of God.